Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser Player Ratings with Bickler and myself, Timucin. Bickler, what's going on?
What's happening, man?
Not much. Not good for the heart today. So if you're like me, make sure you call on Monday, make your appointments and everything. But let's get straight to it, Bickler. I'm assuming it's not going to be like our first episode of these ratings like last week. It doesn't look as good as it did that game. So let's start with goal with Alisson. I give him an 8. Huge save right before the first goal. I don't know. I mean, one of them is a deflection, and the second one, I don't know how much he could have done with it. I give him an 8. I thought it was really solid.
I went 7. I went 7 just because I felt like he struggled out of the back, especially in the first half with the distribution. I didn't feel like distribution was on point at all. But I know that was probably coupled with the fact that we couldn't play out of the back at all either. But yeah, 7 for me.
How about Trent? I know we're going to be all over the place on this one, and it's almost like his stock went up and down with the fans during the game. So what do you have?
Yeah, much better second half. I know he got an assist in the first half, but I had him at a 5. I thought, he did okay second half, but that first half was so bad. It was not only were things not coming off, but he was a liability in general. Like, he was just turning the ball over in bad spots, positionally terrible. Didn't matter if he was on the right or it was a set piece and he was on the left. He was getting beat over the top every single time. Half the time he wasn't even aware that, like, where he was supposed to be on the high line. Like, yeah, it was bad.
It was bad, yeah. I mean, so if you're new to the player rating segments, we're going with like 6 as being the average. So I would probably put him at a 5 myself. Despite the assist, it was just like an abysmal first half. Mr. Deflection himself, I don't know what it is with City Games and Matip, but I thought he did well overall. I mean, he was one of the few ones that was able to bring the ball out, but his passing was not where it should be. I still go with like a 7 for him. I thought he did well.
I had him at a 6. I thought that was just an average Matip performance. I thought there were times where he really struggled to play it out of the back, and I think, yeah, he brought it forward, but he didn't give us any of those wow runs. I mean, to his credit, if I was playing next to Trent in that form, I wouldn't either. I would get towards the halfway line and be looking to dump it off, just so that you could kind of recover positionally. But for me, it was a pretty average performance with him. I thought he looked pretty shaky at times.
How about his partner, Van Dijk?
I give Van Dijk a 7. And I thought he looked pretty good. I mean, I think you could make an argument for him being 8. I just thought that the entire back line struggled to hold it together, and he was part of that. But, I mean, he had some great moments. I got a good chuckle on the inside when he just stood Raheem Sterling up in the box and just, like, basically palmed him, like put his hand, like, right on his forehead and just held him at an arm's length while he swung.
I was just going to pick him up like a basketball at one point.
Yeah, that was one of the better moments.
I do agree. I go with 7 for Van Dijk as well. Similar to Matip, I thought they did well in terms of, especially in the air. But yeah, like you said, it was more like the line as a whole struggling. And I know, Van Dijk is the main guy with that one, but still I go with a 7 as well. We go to the left with Robertson. Same. I think I still give him a 7. Slightly above average. I thought he did well. Obviously, that ball in the first ball that Trent gets the assist, but that ball is coming from the left. And I thought, especially in the first half, if we were ever able to break the press, it seemed to be coming from the left to me. So I go with Robo for 7.
Yeah, I think 7 too. He gave I think on effort alone, the final ball wasn't there all the time. But I thought on effort alone, and he was one of the few that sort of locked down his half. He did a good job kind of neutralizing Walker's speed, and he even did a good job helping out and kind of chipping in with De Bruyne as best he could. I give him a 7 as well.
Next up, we go to midfield, which was, a slight mess. And when the midfield does not perform well, obviously that back line gets exposed more. Fabinho, for me, probably one of the worst games I've seen from him. He really struggled with the pace on the ball. I give him a 5 today.
Yeah, same. I mean, it took him 20 minutes just to even touch the ball in the match, it felt like. And this is a game that we probably need him more than any game. And he usually up for it, plays pretty well versus City. But, yeah, he was a ghost first half. Slow, not only in terms of just his pace seemed slow, but he was just slow to react. And I know there are times we were overrun in midfield, but yeah, this is the worst that I can remember him playing in a long time. 5, I think, is generous. I go 5 as well. But yeah, we can't. I mean, come Wembley, man, he's gotta be there in a different way.
Yeah, 5 might be generous. You're right, but I felt like
Yeah.
he had his moments, but he almost gave the game away with that missed pass. It looked like we were going to have the last chance of the game, and it kind of went the other way around. And I was like, well, that's a perfect way to sum up today. How about the captain? What do you have for him?
I thought he did better than I saw a lot of stuff online being like, this is why he doesn't deserve to start, yada, yada. And look, I don't know if Henderson's got 90 in him regularly anymore, especially in a match like this. But I thought he did a good job disrupting play. He had Jota in right before half, which should have been 2-2. Like, people forget, he gets that assist, and it's hard to have that argument against him. I thought he did relatively well. I mean, the whole entire midfield struggled in terms of just holding possession first half. They were all a little better second half. But yeah, I had him at a 6.
Yeah, I have him as a 6 as well. I think despite what was around him and how well they were performing, I thought he held his own. You're probably right, but he's the one that kind of brings that energy on the field. And I felt like if he was not there with that energy, we would be overrun even worse against their press. So I give him a 6 as well. Probably going 6 with the next guy as well, Thiago. The problem is when we do not have the ball, Thiago obviously is not as valuable to that midfield. He's the guy that needs the feet. I mean, for defending, he's probably not the best midfielder. So I go with a 6. I thought he was average overall.
Yeah, if you're City, you want to approach Thiago how we should approach KDB. And I think they did a really good job of that. They held possession long enough. It really took the game out of his hands, didn't allow him to dictate possession. I thought he did an okay job holding on and retaining possession when we had it. I think a lot of the lanes that he's used to seeing weren't necessarily there, and that's down to just Pep having him well drilled in midfield. Yeah, I mean, towards the end there, he's probably lucky to stay on the pitch, to be quite honest. That last the lunge on where he catches KDB and gets the foul the other way on De Bruyne, probably pretty fortunate that's not a second yellow. And I do feel like, he does have a tendency to go in a little recklessly, and I think that really kind of peeked its ugly head out again. But yeah, I go 6 with Thiago.
Yeah, we'll probably discuss it a lot more in tomorrow. I personally still think that foul was on Rodri, and the ruling on the field, if you will, was Thiago was kind of pushed into that tackle against KDB. But like I said, we'll go into that detail on tomorrow night's podcast at 7 p.m. Central. So join us then as well. And we go up top. I saw all kinds of comments for Mane. I actually thought he did pretty darn good up there and coming to the middle. He was one of the few who was able to get those long balls down and bring them down. I go with 7. And then close to an 8.
Yeah, so I'll go 8. And in fact, I think I probably would have gone 8 had he not scored today. That's how good I thought his overall game was. I thought he did so much work in the mids coming back. I thought I don't know. I love this performance. I think it was one of the better performances we've had from Sadio over the last 16 months. Just the fact that he made such a big difference coming back and chipping into that midfield, especially on that side. And then, he obviously gets the goal. I thought his distribution going forward was pretty good. He played a little more with his back to goal than we're used to seeing, which was interesting. But, yeah, I thought he had a really, really good performance.
And we go to the opposite side. Just going in this order right here. Mo. Kind of up and down. I probably give him a 7. I thought he was more active than normal. That assist to Mane in the beginning of the second half was just a beauty. But I guess I was expecting more from that wing. We just didn't create much from that side. So I give him a 7.
So I'm going to go 8 here for a similar reason I did Mane. I thought Mo did a tremendous amount of work on the defensive end, especially in the first half when Trent was just getting dogged. Salah was coming all the way back in a big way. And he was much more into this game than any match that I've seen probably in the last 3 or 4 weeks. In terms of the fact that the play was running through him, which is where we need to be. And I always felt we had a puncher's chance because when he's getting the ball that many times, you're just playing with percentages. And the percentages are he's going to make magic at some point, right? And he did. I think If you notice, second half, we took the ball off of Trent and started playing Mo more. Instead of Trent's early deliveries, the ball was coming through Mo, and we were allowing Trent to either sit back, run in the inner lane, or go middle. And I just think that game changed because of him and his work rate throughout. I give him an 8.
Yeah, I will second the motion on his work rate, especially defensively. I mean, he was kind of back there defending constantly, which was nice. Jota, this is going to be an odd one because I know he scored. Probably should have ended the other with that Henderson through ball. I still can give him a 7 and nothing more. I'd probably, if it wasn't for the goal, I would think it would be a 6 actually. But what do you have?
Yeah, I actually have him at a 6, and you might be right. Maybe 7's fair because he scored, but I think here's the thing, right? He's been struggling in scoring, and like the thing, like the last match we had where he heads it in. I think if he doesn't score, I think it's a pretty unmemorable performance. And I think the problem with Jota is you have the direct on the ball threat, and he's clinical in front of goal, and he's a smart player. He gets himself in really dangerous spots, but he will not drop back in the mids like Bobby does. In that, I think that hurts, especially in a game like City with such a strong midfield between Rodri and KDB kind of holding it down, and then Silva just darting around in there. I think that, I know Bobby's not what he was, and I know that he's coming. I don't know why I missed training, but I know that was probably not going to happen. I do think it was the best 3, but I think that's kind of what you get with Jota. That's the trade-off. He doesn't come back in. He is a direct goal threat. He is clinical. I think he's been struggling, though.
Yeah, I'd say I was disappointed that Bobby couldn't, do the training and get on the field. I really felt like we could have used them, and he would have been a lot more efficient, especially against that press. We needed somebody else to come back and grab the ball at times, and I think Bobby could have done that, and we don't get that from Jota. But getting the goal was nice. Could have had more. Man of the match. Oh, actually, let's go hit the subs first. Diaz, actually, I was going to give him a 7. I felt like he brought some energy, some speed. Maybe couldn't get a lot done in the landline, except like when he first came in, he had that semi-assist type creation going. But I probably just give him a 7.
We're on Diaz, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Diaz,
yeah. Yeah, I give him a 7 as well. I think what's interesting about Diaz is like we talk about his blistering pace. But I think what's interesting is we're finding out, especially in the late stages of games, his size is causing problems. There's more than a few times where we kind of lofted it up and he was winning 50-50 balls in the air and causing all sorts of problems, which when you do that, odds are there's a player out of position, right? And so I thought his work rate coupled with the fact that he was an over-the-top threat, I thought he did a really good job. I had him at a 7 as well.
And moving on to some later subs, Keita coming in for Henderson. I thought for the time being, it's probably not fair to give him a 6. So I'll give him a 7 by default, I guess, because I didn't say anything bad. I felt like if he came in earlier for Thiago, he would have been better. And we talked about this in the past where we feel like he plays better with Henderson than with Thiago.
Nabby Nabs, yeah, I had him at a 6. I mean, if 6 is average, right, I felt like he was pretty average. Maybe that's not fair because he just didn't have that long to get in. But, yeah, I mean, average across the board. But I don't think he didn't anything, he didn't do anything poorly, but there wasn't any really wow moments in there either.
And the last one in Bobby, I don't even know if we put one of those to be determined on these because
yep.
they only have like
give
6
it NA.
to do anything. Yeah, NA is probably anything less than 10, unless you're pulling a Divock, is probably should be like a NA. What do you have for man of the match?
This is a tough one. I went back and forth. I'll probably give it to Mane. I mean, just because he clipped in the last goal, to tie it up there. And this is let's not forget, this is a City team that hasn't dropped points from a winning position all year. So we did something. I mean, we did some things okay. As bad as we did, we came out with a draw. And I think Mane was a big reason for that.
So who were you going back and forth? Was it Mane and Mo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I go with Mane as well. I thought he was more consistent throughout. In the first goal, I mean, that's kind of like, we'll get into that more tomorrow. I think we were trying to kind of sometimes build when we should have just cleared our lines and stuff like that too. But yeah, overall, I thought he was, and I agree with what you're saying. I know everybody's more criticizing the performance, but you have to kind of like bear in mind who was going against as well. I mean, that is like a really good team. It was it was, apart from the nerves, it's just a joy to watch those two out there. It was tiring.
That's gotta. I mean, as a neutral fan, you can't ask for more in a football match. It was an incredible match. I mean, I hated every second of it just because I was having a miniature anxiety attack. But like, as a neutral, I gotta feel like you gotta love that.
Yeah, I was talking to my brother, and he's a neutral, and he was like, he's like, you could just not take your eyes off because you knew something would happen. Like, forget going to the refrigerator or anything kind of game. And yeah, it was painful to watch for the heart, but we'll definitely go into it more detail tomorrow, Bickler. We'll bring Gally on board as well with our regular Monday. Thanks for everybody. Let us know what you guys think, who your man of the match was. I heard a bunch of different names online, so it could be anybody. Bickler, we'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central.
Later, guys. I'll be here.
Take care.